Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, like this video and press the bell icon. In this video, we will build a multi-language app in Angular 18 using signals, making it easy to switch languages instantly. With signals, we will manage language changes smoothly across the app, updating icons and text dynamically whenever a user selects a new language. Let's see the demo. On the home page, the Navbar has three links: Home, About, and Contact. On the right side, there's a drop-down for selecting languages, with English set as the default. The page also features three cards displaying a placeholder image, category, and description. At the bottom, there's a footer with the text "All rights reserved." If we click on the About link, the About page opens with a title and a brief description. On the Contact page there is a contact form and contact info. Click on the Home link and go to the home page. Click on French, and you will see that the Navbar links, category details, and footer text translate into French. Now select Russian, and you will see that the page translates into Russian. The Navbar text also translates into Russian. If we select Spanish, the page will translate into Spanish. Now click on the About link, and you'll see that the About page has also translated into Spanish. If we click on the Contact link, you'll see that the Contact page has also translated into Spanish. Select a language to translate the Contact page into Russian, French, or English. Now click on the About link to go to the About page and select a language to translate the About page into French, Russian, or Spanish. If we open the Developer Tools, you'll see a message in the console: language change to EN, FR, RU, ES, each time we change the language. If we click on the Application tab and check Local Storage, you'll see a signal named Language Signal with its current value ES. This value updates each time we change the language. You can see that the language signal value changes to RU, then FR, and then EN, each time we change the language. Let's get started and build this multi-language app in Angular 18 with signals. To save time, I have already set up Angular 18 using the command ng-new ng18_multilanguage, where ng18_multilanguage is the app name. For the UI, we will use Bootstrap. I have already installed it using the command npm bootstrap, then added Bootstrap CSS and JS paths to the styles and scripts arrays in the angular.json file. We will create 5 components: Navbar, Home, About, Contact, and Footer to structure our app. Let's create our first component. Click here and open a new terminal. Now, click here and select Command Prompt to open a new command prompt. Type the command ng space g space c space navbar and press enter. Here G is for generate, C is for component, and navbar is the component name. The HTML, spec.ts, .ts, and CSS files for the Navbar component have been generated. Open navbar.component.html file. In this file, I have added a Bootstrap Navbar with 3 links and a drop-down to select languages. I have added database theme equals dark to the nav class for dark mode. Here is the link for the logo. Here I have added 3 links: Home, About, and Contact. Then I have added a drop-down to display the languages English, French, Russian, and Spanish along with their flag icons. Now, open app.component.html file and add app navbar selector. Then open app.navbar.ts file and add navbar components in the imports array and import it. In the index.html file, I have added the CDN for flag icons to display country flags and applied the bgdark class to the body for dark mode. Now, if you run the app using the ngserve command and open it in the browser, you'll see a navbar with 3 links: Home, About, and Contact on the left, and a language drop-down on the right. We will use the Lippy's flag icons to display the country flags. Here is the CDN which we have added in the index.html file. Now, let's create the Home component to display cards with an image, category, description, and a button. Open your terminal. Type the command ng space g space c space home and press enter. Here G is for generate, C is for component, and home is the component name. Open home.component.html file. In home.component.ts file, I've created a cards array with details for each card, including a category, description, and an image URL. Each object in the array represents a product category with relevant information, a category name, brief description, and placeholder image. In the home.component.html file, I've used an for loop to display each item in the cards array. First, we display the card image by using Angular's property binding to dynamically set the image source from each card's image property. Then we display category name. After that, we display the description. Here is the Learn More button. In the app.route.ts file, I've defined a route with an empty path to load the home component as the default view when the app starts. In the app.component.html file, below the navbar, I've placed the router outlet directive, which serves as a placeholder for the routed components, dynamically displaying them based on the active route. If you open your browser now, you will see the home component, which displays 3 cards, each with an image, category, description, and a button. Now, let's create about, contact and footer component. Open your terminal. Type the command ng space g space c space about and press enter. Here G is for generate, C is for component, and about is the component name. Now type the command ng space g space c space contact and press enter. Here G is for generate, C is for component, and contact is the component name. Finally, type the command ng space g space c space footer and press enter. The about, contact, and footer components have been created. Open about.component.html file. Here is the heading. And here is a small description about the website. No code has been added to about.component.ts file yet. In the contact.component.html file, there are 2 columns. The left column includes a heading, Contact Us, along with sample address, email, and phone information. In email, use an hashtag 64 semicolon to display the @ symbol in the email address. The right column features a send message form with input fields for name, email, and message, along with a submit button. The contact.component.ts file is currently empty. In the footer.component.html file, I've added a centered copyright notice, copyright 2024 PHP Node Tuts, all rights reserved. The footer.component.ts file is currently empty. In the app.routes.ts file, I have added routes for about and contact component and imported both the about and contact components. In navigation.component.html file, I have replaced ref with routerLink directive for navigation and routerLink active to apply an active class when the link's route is active. The routerLink active options equals exact. True ensures that each link only becomes active for its exact route. Click on the I button to watch the full tutorial on Angular routing. Inside navbar.component.ts file, I have added routerLink and routerLink active in the imports array and imported them. In app.component.html file, add app.footer selector after router outlet and add footer component in the imports array in app.component.ts file. Go to your browser and click on About link and you will navigate to the About page. You can see the heading and description, and here is the footer. Now click on Contact link and you will navigate to the Contact page. On the left side, you'll find the contact information, and on the right side, you can see the contact form. Now, let's install the ngx-translate package for translations. In Google, type ngx-translate and press enter. Click on this link. Scroll down. This package was recently updated and now supports both Angular 17 and Angular 18+. There is a new documentation which covers installation on Angular 16+. Right-click and open this link in a new tab. Click on the installation link. Here, you can see the Angular versions along with tutorials for installation. Right-click and open this link in a new tab. Scroll down. Now, click on this link. Here is the command to install ngx-translate core, HTTP loader, and ngx-translate extract marker. Click here to copy this command. Paste the command which you have copied and press enter. All three packages have been installed. Now, we need to initialize ngx-translate in the app.config.ts file which is inside src app folder. We are using Angular 18+, so click on the standalone component links. First, we will add the HTTP loader factory function inside app.config.ts file, which provides a way to configure how translation files are loaded in the application, specifically, loading JSON translation files from the i18n folder using Angular's HTTP client. Copy this code. Open app.config.ts file. Paste the code here. Copy provide HTTP client function. Add a comma after the provide router function and paste the provide HTTP client function. Import provide HTTP client function and HTTP client from angular/common/http. Copy the code after the provide HTTP client function. Paste the code after provide HTTP client function. Import providers from Angular/core. Now we need to import translate module and translate loader. Copy this code. Paste the copied code here. Now we need to import translate HTTP loader. Copy this code. Paste the copied code here. You can see that all the errors have been resolved now. Here, instead of storing the translation files directly in the i18n folder, we will create an assets folder and place the i18n folder inside the assets folder. Change the base path to /assets/i18n. Now, create an assets folder inside the public folder, and then create an i18n folder inside the assets folder. Next, create an en.json file inside the i18n folder. Close all the other files. Create 3 more files, es.json for Spanish, ru.json for Russian and fr.json for French. Now, in the en.json file, define a JSON structure with a Navbar object. Inside the object, add keys, home, about, and contact, with their values set as home, about, and contact respectively, ensuring the first letter of each value is capitalized. Copy this JSON structure and paste it into the es.json, fr.json, and ru.json files. Open es.json file. Now, we need to translate the values home, about, and contact into Spanish, French, and Russian. I will use ChatGPT for translation. You can also use Google Translate. Go to your browser and navigate to chatgpt.com. Enter the prompt, translate into Spanish, French and Russian, home, about and contact and press enter. You will see the translations in Spanish, French, and Russian. Copy the Spanish translation. Paste it here. Now, let's replace home, about, and contact with their Spanish translations. Now, delete these translations. Open the fr.json file and do the same as we did in the en.json file. Open the ru.json file and repeat the process. Now, let's create a service called MultiLang to handle switching between languages in our application. Open your terminal. Type the command ngx-MultiLang and press enter. Here G is for generate, S is for service and MultiLang is the service name. MultiLang service.ts file is created. Open MultiLang service.ts file. Create a signal named language signal, which is a signal of type string. Import signal from Angular/core. We will use window.localstorage.getItem method to retrieve the value stored in the local storage under the key language signal and parses it as JSON using json.parse. If the retrieved value is null or undefined, it returns en. Now, create an updateLanguage method that takes a language string as a parameter. Inside this method, use the update method of the language signal to change its value. Here, use a switch statement to handle different values of the language parameter. In the case blocks, we check for specific language codes. If language is en, it returns en. If language is fr, it returns fr. If language is ru, it returns ru. If language is es, it returns es. If none of the cases match, the default block is executed, which returns en as the fallback value. There are two ways to use the translate service in your Angular application. First is, using dependency injection in the constructor, define a private property in the constructor, such as private translate service, and inject the translate service. Make sure to import translate service from ngx-translate/core. We will use second way, using the inject function. We can directly use Angular's inject function to obtain an instance of translate service. Import inject from Angular/core. Now, after using the inject function to create an instance of translate service, we can remove it from the constructor as it's no longer needed there. Inside the constructor, we will use effect, which is a specific type of signal that is executed when the value of a signal within it changes. Add effect in the constructor and import it from Angular/core. First, we use the JSON.stringify method to convert the value of this .language signal into a JSON string before storing it in the local storage. Whenever the value of language signal changes, the new value is stored in the browser's local storage using window.localstorage.setItem. This ensures the selected language persists even after the page is refreshed. Next, we call the use method of translate service with the updated language signal value. This updates the language being used by ngx-translate. Finally, the current value of language signal is logged to the console for debugging purposes. Now, we need to use the MultiLang service inside the Navbar component. Open the Navbar component and use the inject function to obtain an instance of the MultiLang service. This will allow us to access and utilize its functionality within the component. Import the inject function from Angular/core and also import the MultiLang service. Now, create a method called toggleLanguage that takes a language parameter of type string. Inside the method, check if the current value of language signal is different from the past language. If they are different, call the updateLanguage method of the MultiLang service to update the language and log the updated language to the console. Next, create a method called getLanguageIcon class that takes a language parameter of type string. Use a switch statement to check the past language and return the corresponding CSS class for the language's icon. If the language is EN, return FIS for the US flag icon. If the language is FR, return FIFR for the French flag icon. If the language is ES, return FIES for the Spanish flag icon. If the language is RU, return FIRU for the Russian flag icon. If no matching case is found, default to FIS for the US flag icon. Now, let's create a method called getLanguageName that takes a language parameter as a string and returns the full name of the language based on the provided language code. Use a switch statement to check the past language and return the corresponding name of the language based on the provided language code. If the language is EN, it returns English. If the language is FR, it returns French. If the language is ES, it returns Spanish. If the language is RU, it returns Russian. If no matching case is found, it defaults to English. Open navbar.component.html file. Here, we use the translate pipe to display the translated text for the home key from the translation files. The translate pipe looks up the corresponding translation for the key navbar.home in the active language and displays it dynamically. Copy this code and paste it into the A tag of about, then replace navbar.home with navbar.about. Now, do the same for the A tag of contact and replace navbar.home with navbar.contact. Remove this li tags. Now, in this li tag, let's use the ng for directive to loop through an array of languages, en, fr, ru, es. Now, in the A tag, use the click event binding to call the toggle language method, passing the current language as an argument when the link is clicked. Now, use the ngx directive to conditionally apply the active class when the current language matches the language variable by checking if MultiLang service.language signal is equal to language. If you hover over this code, you will see an error. We will fix it later. Now, inside the span tag, use the ngx directive to dynamically apply the class returned by the getLanguageIcon class method. Here, we pass the current language from the loop to the method, which sets the appropriate flag icon based on the selected language. Remove the text French. Add the getLanguageName method and pass language as a parameter. This method will return the corresponding language name based on the provided language code. Open navbar.component.ts file. Add translate module in the imports array and import it from ngx-translate/core. Then add common module in the imports array and import it from angular/common. Open navbar.component.html file, and you will see that all the errors have been resolved. Go to your browser and reload the page. Now, open the console in the Developer Tools. Click on the hamburger menu to open the Navbar. Click on the drop-down menu and change the language from English to French. You can see that the Navbar text is translated from English to French, but the language name and flag icons in the drop-down menu remain unchanged. In the console, the language code like EN, FR, ES, or RU is also not being displayed. Let's review the code and fix the issue. Now, inside this span tag, use the ngx directive to dynamically apply the class returned by the getLanguageIcon class method, passing MultiLang service.language signal as the parameter. This ensures the flag icon updates according to the currently selected language. Remove the text English. Use the getLanguageName method and pass MultiLang service.language signal as the parameter to display the language name according to the currently selected language. Open MultiLang service.ts file. Add parentheses after language signal to call the signal and log its current value. Here, add single quotes around the double quotes to properly define the string value EN as a valid default. Go back to your browser. Click on the hamburger menu to open the Navbar. Now, click on the drop-down menu and change the language from Spanish to English. You will see that the Navbar text is translated from Spanish to English, and the language name and flag icons are updated to English. Select the French language, and you will see that the Navbar text is now translated into French, and the flag icons are updated to French. Also, the message in the console displays the correct language code. Select the Russian language, and you'll see the Navbar text, language name, and flag icons updated to Russian. The same happens when you choose the Spanish language. If you click on the home link, you will see that the Navbar text, selected language, and flag icons remain in Spanish. Now, let's translate the content of the home, about, and contact pages one by one. Go back to Visual Studio Code. Open home.component.ts file. We need to translate the category and description. Open en.json file. Here, add a comma, then add a new object for the home section, which includes the clothing category. This contains the title and a description. Open home.component.ts file. Now, let's add the title and description for the bags and accessories, and cosmetics and body care categories. Here, I have added key value pairs for the bags, accessories, and cosmetics body care categories, each containing a title and a description. Additionally, a Learn More key is included to provide a string for further details on these categories. Now, copy the entire home object and paste it inside the es.json file. Now, we need to translate the title and description values for clothing, bags, accessories, and cosmetics body care, as well as the value of Learn More, into Spanish, French, and Russian. Copy the entire home object. Go to chatgpt.com and paste the home object. Now type the prompt, translate title, description and Learn More into Spanish and keep the format same and press enter. You will see the translation into Spanish. Copy this translation. Remove this home object and paste the Spanish translation which you have copied. Now we need to translate the title and description values for clothing, bags, accessories, and cosmetics body care, as well as the value of Learn More into French. Go back to chatgpt.com and type the prompt, now translate into French and keep the format same. You will see the translation into French. Now, for Russian language, type the prompt, now translate into Russian and keep the format same and press enter. You will see the translation in Russian. Copy the French translation. Open fr.json file and paste the French translation which you have copied. Now, open ru.json file. Go back to chatgpt.com, copy the Russian translation and paste it in the ru.json file. Now, we need to add the translation keys. Open the home.component.ts file and set the category property to the translation key home.clothing.title and the description property to the translation key home.clothing.description. Do the same for bags, accessories, and cosmetics body care, by adding the respective translation keys for title and description. Open home.component.html file. Here, we will use the translate pipe to translate the category, description, and Learn More keys in the template. This ensures that the content is displayed in the selected language. You can see an error with the translate pipe. Open home.component.ts file, add translate module in the imports array and import it from ngx-translate/core. Go to your browser. You can see that the selected language is set to English, and the Navbar text, card category, description, and Learn More button are also displayed in English. Select French, and all the text will be translated into French as well. If you select the Russian language, all the text will be translated into Russian language including Navbar text and card content. Select Spanish language and all the text will be translated into Spanish language. If you reload the page, the texts will still be in Spanish. Open console in the developer tools. You can see that the language code is set to ES for Spanish in the console. Select English and the language code will be set to EN in the console. If you select French, the language code will display as FR, along with the message language changed to FR. Select Russian and the language code will display as RU, along with the message language changed to RU. Select Spanish, and the language code will display as ES, along with the message language changed to ES. The same will happen when you select English. Now, click on the About link. We need to translate the text of the About page. Go back to Visual Studio Code. Close all the files except for the translation files. Open about.component.html file. We need to translate this title, small description, and contact us text. Open en.json file. Add a comma. Now, add a new object for the About section with a title for the section title, content for a brief description, and button text for the Contact Us button text. Copy this About object and go to chatgpt.com. Paste the copied object and type the prompt, translate title, content, button text into Spanish, French and Russian and keep the format same and then press enter. You will see the translation into Spanish, French and Russian. Copy this translation and paste it into es.json, fr.json, and ru.json files. Open about.component.html file. Now, use the translate pipe to dynamically translate the title, content, and button text keys. Open about.component.ts file, add translate module in the imports array and import it from ngx-translate/core. Go to your browser. Select French, and the title, description, and button text will be translated into French. Select Russian, and the title, description, and button text will be translated into Russian. Select Spanish, and the title, description, and button text will be translated into Spanish. Additionally, you will see the language code displayed in the console along with the message, language changed to, followed by the language code. Click on the contact link. Here, we need to translate the contact information and the contact form with the button. Go back to Visual Studio Code. Open contact.component.html file. Here we need to translate these two sections, contact information and contact form. Open en.json file. Here, I have added a new object contact for the contact section. This includes two nested objects, contact address and contact form. The contact address object contains keys for title, description, address, address content, address email label, email content, phone label, and phone content to define contact details. The contact form object contains keys for send message title, name label, email label, message label, and submit button for form fields and actions. These keys will be used to structure and translate the contact page content. Copy both these objects and go to chatgpt.com. Paste the copied objects and type the prompt, translate all the values into Spanish, French and Russian and keep the format same and press enter. You will see the translations in Spanish, French, and Russian. Copy the Spanish translation. Open es.json file. Add the contact object after a comma and paste the Spanish translation. Open fr.json file. Add the contact object after a comma. Go back to chatgpt.com, copy the French translation and paste it inside the contact object. Now, open ru.json file. Add the contact object after a comma. Go back to chatgpt.com, copy the Russian translation and paste it inside the contact object. Open contact.component.html file. Now we need to use the translate pipe to dynamically translate the contact information and contact form content. Here I have used the translate pipe for the contact title, description, address, email, phone, and form labels, ensuring all text dynamically updates based on the selected language. In contact.component.ts file, add translate module in the imports array and import it from ngx-translate/core. Go to your browser. The contact page is in English. Now select French and you will see that the page translates into French. Now select Russian and the page will translate into Russian. If you reload the page, the text will still be in Russian. Select Spanish and the page will translate into Spanish. Now we need to translate the text in the footer. Go back to Visual Studio Code. Open footer.component.html file. We will translate this text, all rights reserved. Open en.json file. Here, I have added the footer key with the value all rights reserved. I have added the footer key in the es.json, fr.json, and ru.json files with the corresponding translated text. Inside footer.component.html file, I have used the translate pipe to translate the text. In the ts file, I have added translate module. Now, go to your browser, and you will see that the footer text is displayed in the selected language, Spanish. Change the language English and the text will translate into English. Select French and the footer text will translate into French. Select Russian and the footer text will translate into Russian. Select Spanish and the footer text will translate into Spanish. If you reload the page, the texts will still be in Spanish. Let's display the logo in the navbar. Go back to Visual Studio Code. Create an images folder inside the public directory. Open the folder in which you have stored the logo and copy it inside the images folder. Open navbar.component.ts file. Define a string variable image path with the path to the logo image and a string variable image width to set the width of the image to 40 pixels. Open navbar.component.html file. Remove the text navbar. Add an image tag, bind the src attribute to the image path variable using square brackets for property binding, and set the image width dynamically using ngStyle with the value stored in the image width variable. The alt attribute is added for better accessibility with a description of the logo. Copy router link for the home link. Replace href with the copied router link. Go to your browser, and you will see the logo displayed instead of the navbar text. In this video, we learned how to implement multi-language support using ngx-translate and Angular signals in Angular 18. We translated content dynamically across different languages and displayed a logo in the navbar. Additionally, we walked through adding and managing translation keys in JSON files to ensure the site content adapts based on the selected language. We also used ChatGPT to help with the translation. I hope you found this tutorial helpful and easy to follow. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more tutorials. I will see you in next tutorial. Till then, stay safe.